So you can't use 2008 as an example.
That's a good point.
You can use the numbers as an example, but you can't use 2008 as an example because it was only real estate related.
That was a real estate crash.
It was a real estate crash.
Didn't even get to cross.
How do we go about trying to account for all those possible factors? And what's your take on that? So let's start with the supply demand imbalance in Windsor. Actually, all of southwestern Ontario is experiencing this, but let's get your take on that.
So when I look at the real estate market in Windsor and I think, okay, say things really did take a big turn for the worst, what does that turn look like? And I look to the U.S. for I don't like to try to predict the future. I like to go back in history and see what kind of scenario can I relate to what I think is going to happen.
Yeah,
right.
And I disagree with that.
Okay, fair enough.
But yeah, take me through your thought process.
So the reason why I do that is because it's just too hard to predict. Mm-hmm. So I think history is a good predictor of the future. So when I look at what happened in the U.S. during its worst real estate crisis ever, at least in the within the, around in our vicinity or of our era of vicinity, whatever you want to call it, doesn't matter, of our time being on Earth, you and I, Scott, are alive. Right?
Okay, we get the point.
Okay, we get the point. I look at 2008, 2009, and I think, okay, well, as a whole, the U.S. real estate market took a dip of 8% as a whole.
Okay.
So then I look at the Windsor's economy, and I think, okay, so what is Windsor's economy based on? It's based off automotive. It's based off, now we're starting to get more tech coming in. We're getting a lot of immigrants coming into Windsor. We're getting, we've been traditionally underpriced. So we're getting a lot of investment money. So we're getting a lot of capital getting flooded into the city from people that have money, that are either, number one, coming here like in person or sending their money here, right? So then I think, okay, well, Windsor's in a different position now than it was in 2008 because that wasn't happening in 2008.
Big time.
So then if I go back and look at, okay, well, a strong economy, which I actually think Windsor is becoming a stronger economy because of these factors.
It's diversifying.
Yeah, it's diversifying. So then I look at stronger economies where they kind of sustained the real estate crash in the US. And I think, well, as a whole, they typically either, number one, didn't see a decline as much, or maybe it was a couple percent. Or if you take the entire US as a whole and take that 8% number, which I'm pretty sure, maybe don't hold me to it, but I'm pretty sure when we did the research on the actual entire, US, what did it decline by in terms of like real estate values? It was 8%. So if you take Windsor's real estate, knock it down 8%,
well,
it's not that big of a deal.
A temporary 8%.
Yeah, exactly. Like a temporary 8% dip in an asset class that will just continue to scale. Yeah. It won't come down.
It can't.
And I also think Windsor's in a unique scenario where we've exploded so high. Like the prices have been increasing so quick that even if did hit the fan, I actually don't think it would come down. I think it would just go a little stagnant. And that's it. I don't think it would come down. All I think is people would just kind of like stay put for a little bit. That's it. That's all I think what would happen.
So what would cause, again, because I'm going back to, well, as long as there's more demand than supply, prices will continue to rise.
Yeah.
Because there's going to be multiple offers on everything. People are going to be competing for the same product. What do you have to predict what's going to cause that supply demand to come into balance for that to stop happening?
Yeah.
In my opinion, you can't predict that.
No.
Because as soon as COVID hits, well, government drops the interest rate to 0.25%, and that increases demand. Like, you can't predict the infinite myriad of factors, and all of a sudden investors start coming from all over the country to start buying real estate, increasing demand. Like, you can't predict that. You don't know how people are going to respond. So that's the danger. And then in terms of looking to the past instead of trying to predict the future. There's this great kind of story in one of these books that I read. It was about an ancient Mayan civilization. And, they had built up their civilization over 100 years, and then all of a sudden a volcano exploded and wiped them out. Mm-hmm. So they rebuilt, and they rebuilt their cities and whatever else. And they rebuilt it with the eye towards preventing that previous same thing from happening, which was preventing a volcano from destroying them. So they built it far away from the volcano or whatever the case is. And then 100 years later, a hurricane came and wiped them out. So they rebuilt with okay, we got to make it hurricane proof and volcano proof. And then the next time, a flood came and wiped them out. So they're always preparing for what happened last time, not predicting what might come in the future. And what I see people doing in the stock market or real estate is saying, well, this happened in 2008, the mortgage crisis, so that's going to happen again. And to me, it's like, no, that's not going to happen because that's been fixed, right? We're aware of that problem now. That was a black swan because nobody saw it coming.
So I think you might be, okay, keep going. Okay. Well,
yeah, nobody saw that coming because if they saw it coming, they would have prevented it. And I think we're talking about a couple different things because you're not saying what happened last time is going to happen again. You're just saying the market decline would be
I'm using the worst scenario from our past from
percentage
a numbers
decline,
perspective.
From a numbers, which
that's all I'm doing.
Which I agree with that.
Yeah.
But for the other people out there that are trying to say, well, the banks are going to collapse. That's not going to happen.
That's not what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to take a very bad scenario that happened
and apply it
and taking the numbers from that scenario and taking that number and using that as like a baseline. As an example of what could potentially happen as a baseline. And I think that's an interesting one because I have like a pro and a con to using the 2008 crisis as a metric to try to, not predict, but like predict like a decline now. Project the number
here's
here.
What I would say.
And the reason why I think that it's kind of a unique scenario is because number one, it was real estate isolated. It was isolated by real estate.
That's true.
This is not isolated by real estate. So you can't use 2008 as an example. You can use the numbers as an example, but you can't use 2008 as an example because it was only real estate related.
That was a real estate crash.
It was a real estate crash. This is not. This is like, if anything's going to happen, it's going to be like across multiple industries, not just real estate. I just like to use numbers. That's it.
I like it.
Yeah.
For sure.